Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. Turn on the mic so I can hear all the people cheering my name tonight. That's right, I am your head scumbag, the number one hair metal god, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. That's a shirt size and a size for the ladies out there wanting to know. And as you all should know by now, looking at this beautiful blonde coif, I am also the son of, even though the hard facts aren't in yet, but they will be, I am the son of one Diamond David Lee Roth. That's right, I am the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a couple grams, always going out with a bang, got a million fans, shazam, about bop, doo bop, wop, bang, bang. I move like them, I talk like them, I sing like them. So, could there be any doubt, folks? Come on. We are brought to you today by, well, not really a sponsor, but I couldn't get this beautiful blonde coif, this beautiful blonde. Look, I mean, just look at that. Thank you. We have a love affair. Good stuff. And we got a great guest for you also tonight. One that's going to, I'm going to say knock your socks off. I hate to throw legend around, but, you know, legend. The stuff of legend. He will be joining us here momentarily. So there'll be 2 rock stars in this room. I could take a minute here to plug my own bands. You can catch me, the hardest working man in show business, fronting many bands up and down the Eastern Seaboard in the tri-state and upstate New York area. The Jizz Drops, Tit Smacker, Scrotum Sweat, The Ejaculators, my punk rock band, Creamy Thighs, Sticky Thongs. I'm out there, folks. Some say maybe too much, but I mean, look at this. Can you ever really get enough? Well, here's our guest coming to join us right now, and I'm very excited. Very excited. God damn, I'm excited. I love when I get to look at another legend. Just like he's getting to look at a legend. Jason McMaster. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Yeah, you look good. I don't think you got quite as good a head of hair as I do, but I don't think you're the direct offspring of David Lee Roth, though, where I am.
Okay, I'm sorry for your loss.
You look skeptical. You look skeptical. That's just my shtick. I just want to see a little bit of that. Like I told another guest, I want to see a little bit of that Panama money. I don't ask for much, Jason. A drop in the bucket. He wouldn't even miss it. Right or wrong? I mean, Dave's done pretty good for himself.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
No. Maybe he hasn't been smart with his money. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if he's made any good decisions lately.
Well, he lived through the 80s, so it was probably rife with a lot of bad decisions, wouldn't you say?
Surviving is impressive, yes.
Was probably half the battle back then. Jason McMaster, known for Dangerous Toys, Broken Teeth, Watchtower. Are you a legend, sir?
I just love rock and roll.
I think you're a legend.
I can't get enough of it's hard to say no to rock and roll.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more there. So yeah. You're a Texas boy.
Yes.
Born and raised in Texas.
A Texas old man. Yes.
Texas old man. In 1982, when you started Watchtower, I
didn't start it. I joined it.
But they were a technical progressive metal band, correct?
Yes.
And they were cited by the likes of, I've read Chuck Schuldiner, Mike Portnoy. A lot of people consider them a pretty heavy influence.
Yes.
That's pretty high praise. From what you started doing there to where you ended up in Dangerous Toys, obviously starting out doing very heavy music and then ending up in a band like Dangerous Toys. What caused that shift?
There had been a shift in Watchtower for about a year at that point when we switched guitar players. Not that the new guitar player was bad. He was a close friend and hyper talented and a perfect fit. But realizing that I had a chance to write my own songs, because in Watchtower I didn't was not credited for the melodies I wrote. I'm not trying to take credit for what I didn't do,
Right.
which was write lyrics, but I saw an opportunity to learn how to write songs better
Right.
and get paid for it.
Yeah. Which is the main goal, right? At the end of the
I
day. Yeah.
well at that point, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have any money.
Right.
I
Right.
really didn't have a whole lot to lose. Um, I would like to think that I kept my integrity.
Yeah.
But it was
Absolutely.
a hard switch either way, because I was
Right.
in the band, 8 or 9 years, and helped create, what Watchtower is known for.
Now, the Watchtower debut album comes out in 1985. In 1986, you're approached by Vinnie Paul to join Pantera. Now,
No, incorrect.
incorrect. Okay.
Incorrect. I was called by their father, and then a week later, Vinny called me, both sort of looking to see if I'm interested in auditioning.
Auditioning. Okay.
They were not hiring me over the phone. They were asking me if I would like to audition, which I turned down twice.
Now, did they cite any reasons why specifically you had made it onto their list of people that they're, because obviously this is pre the Pantera that many metal fans know as the later, heavier Pantera, right? This is when they were still in more of a quote unquote glam phase.
This is correct. At the time, I was closer to what they were doing later. And then not long after, I switched to closer to what they were doing earlier.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
Kind of
ironic.
ironic. Yeah.
They had just lost Terry Glaze, and to answer your question, I was fortunate enough to get to ask Daryl, why me? Basically, the same
Right.
question that you just asked me.
Right.
I was years later. I was standing behind the back line on stage with Daryl and some friends while Typo Negative was on stage. So I'm basically behind the back line, but basically behind the drum, right next to the drum kit.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to ask Daryl. I was like, I finally, it dawned on me, I just wanted to ask you why, and he said, he didn't hesitate. He said, you in Texas, you had one of the biggest buzz, there was a buzz about you as a
Right.
singer, and he had friends that were friends of mine. I was friends with dudes that he grew up with in DFW area, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
So since I have you on here and a couple other musicians I've talked to, I bounced this off of them just because it's current news. While we're on the topic of them, what do you think about this whole Pantera reunion right now? For it, against it, like what they're doing?
I think that it's going to be really cool for the fans. Like when people go see Kiss and it's not really Kiss and it hadn't been Kiss for 1,000 years. Well, it can't ever be Pantera. Can't ever be Pantera. So
Agreed.
if
Sure.
you look at it as a tribute to Pantera, and it's missed. There's a big hole that will never ever be filled, but this is a pretty good Band-Aid.
Yeah, I think the fans are getting a pretty good lineup. I think they are getting the lineup that I think the Abbott brothers would certainly be in favor of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Charlie.
Yeah, I don't know if there would be any drama from anyone, but people are talking. The drama is out there. The problems that Daryl and Vinny would have had are just he said, she said on the internet right now. So
right.
That shouldn't really try to not let that phase you if you love the songs as much as you say you do, because you want to hear them again.
Right. Absolutely. So in 1989, debut album for Dangerous Toys, which I'd said previously was a big shift from what you were doing in Watchtower. Do you feel like when you look back, into numerous bands from that, and I know it's cringeworthy. They probably hate hearing it called the hair metal scene or glam bands, but from that time frame, you guys had videos on MTV. Do you ever look back and think, why wasn't Dangerous Toys up there with the Poisons and the Motley Crues and the and what do you attribute to the fact that the commercial success seemed to elude you? Because in my opinion, the songs, the material, the look, everything is great and right on par with those bands.
Well, I like the question, but it's kind of unanswerable. It's a mystery as to why this and that and the other thing. There's plenty of bands that are so good and very, very consistent.
Right.
And I'm not even talking about Toys. I'm talking about, don't get me started on that. But the point that the answer I think that you're looking for is, what do I think? Well, being lumped in with the bands that you mentioned, I understand that there's not really anywhere else for someone to put a band like Dangerous Toys, but
right.
I don't really think that we sound like those bands. I think that we sound like there's some 80s metal influence, but it's all over the place.
Right.
I think that we were still kind of learning how to write a good song, and people might disagree, go, no, you guys write great songs. Well, yeah, thank you. But why are you asking me this question if we write great songs? You see what I mean? So,
right.
So that's awesome. And we feel pretty good about our songs. I think that when you work for a corporate company, because that's what recording for a major label is about, you're kind of being told when to write a song. Right. Okay, you guys go home and write us a song. What? I'm eating dinner right now. Right. You know what I mean? It's literally that. Right.
And you don't want it to feel forced. You don't want it to.
Well, and I wouldn't say, oh, it's a bummer. I have to write songs for a living.
Right.
I'm not complaining, but there's just I just feel like when, let's say the band, because this is true, when the band's out on tour and let me get this straight. You want to pull up the stakes and you want to circle the wagons when we are killing it. We're finding gold every dig we stop at. Right. Meaning we're selling records, we're selling t-shirts, we're on tour, and you want to pull all this up and go home. Are we selling records? Yeah, you guys are doing great. Well, the t-shirt sales are good too. Why do you want us to go home again? Because your window of opportunity for your sophomore effort is closing. I'm like, yeah. Well, look what good that did them. Because the climate changed, the landscape changed, the wind blew real hard, and the dollar bill went that way, and everyone, even them that pulled us off the road, they went that way. Right. They didn't care about us. They were doing their job. Right. It was just kind of like a formula. I remember the 80s formula. It was always like the rocker, then the power ballad, then the tour, and it was kind of like rinse and repeat. And it did start to feel very formulaic back in the day. It just seemed like, and I think, speaking to your point earlier, I think a lot of bands that were making anything that was hard or remotely metal back in the 80s, I think, unfortunately, they do kind of get lumped in with that list of bands that I just said. I mean, it's. Yeah. I mean, unless you've sold, and this is part of my theory that wasn't part of your question, but it piggybacks it. Sure. The rest of my theory goes like this. It's like, if you can sustain and write the songs that the powers that be feel like are what they're looking for, and they throw enough money at it, you could put shit on a shingle and they throw enough money at it, and make it work for you. Sure. Yeah. But but as well, they're looking at, the bean counters are looking at what's hot elsewhere,
Right.
and that's
Right.
where their noses are going, and they're not worried about the guys who, and this is the clincher here. I could have just led with this part, but the long way makes sense. If you sold enough records, whatever that might be, whatever that is for your band,
Yep.
if you sold enough records the first time to keep their attention, you're okay. And you probably would have lasted the storm, the
Right.
Seattle movement, all the upper West Coast bands that started doing really well. And I love those bands. So
Yeah.
the point is that was something fresh, and they were lumping us in with the bands that you mentioned.
Right.
And since they were lumping it in with us, and those bands had sold enough records, like I said, whatever is enough records to sustain a career, even if you put shit on a shingle,
right.
you sold enough records to weather the storm. Right. And if you hadn't, you blow away.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of your point, and that's where I was going to go before you took the words right out of my mouth. I spoke not that long ago to Gary Lee Conner, the guitar player for the Screaming Trees, and we were talking about the grunge movement, and if he felt like, or that that god awful. At least the people from that area seem to think the grunge term is pretty awful, but whatever the hell it means. But
well, it's as bad as hair metal, isn't it?
It's as bad as hair metal. It is. It's right up there with hair metal. But so I asked him if how their feeling was when they kind of got big and burst out in the scene. How did it feel to you guys? Did it feel like it was kind of like a cleansing of the palate, like maybe too much of the 80s stuff, focusing on the girls, the parties, the no frills lifestyle? Do you think that music needed that kind of a cleansing, like, so to speak? Because I know a lot of people point to like, oh, the Seattle scene is what kind of, killed the party, so to speak,
Well, I think that I like the question, but I don't really like what some people's answer would be, because if they said yes, then that makes sense. Maybe from a business standpoint, the answer would be yes. But if you play rock and roll, if you play whatever it is that you do, you should do all the time.
Exactly.
Not just because there's a new wardrobe out and all the kids are wearing that now, so you need to wear what they're wearing.
Right.
It doesn't. Life is not like that. You need to be who you are. You need to represent yourself all the time. All the time.
And it's funny you say that, because we were laughing about how, like, all of a sudden they made the movie Singles and there's this big spotlight, and these guys are thinking, hey, we've been in this town, Seattle, here making music for a long time, and now all of a sudden people are just figuring us out. And then all of a sudden it was $300 designer flannels, and it was the whole, like, all of a sudden it was, you had to be grunge. And I asked him, and he said it kind of seemed weird to them, kind of like, where's all this coming from? We've been right here doing this all along.
Well, it's a community of lumberjacks.
Yeah.
So they wear boots and flannel, and it's wet.
A lot of rain.
Marsh. It's marsh. They're coastal. There's lakes and rivers and mountains, and some people, when you grow up around that, you don't know any difference. But when it comes fashion globally, because of a style of music or pop, it just became a trend of pop culture. And I can understand why that would feel kind of dirty to them, and they didn't even do anything wrong.
Right. So what did you feel about that music when it hit around circa 1990, 91? Did you dig a lot of that stuff coming out?
Well, I say this a lot, but obviously it made enough of an impact to to get to me somehow, because but let me back up. What I've already said still works, but let me back up and say this too. I don't listen to the radio. So, and I was never really, I would change the channel if it was on MTV and something sounding interesting. It could have been anyone. It could have been Bananarama. I'll stop and watch it. I don't care. Because I like music. Right. But whatever. I think that that movement was powerful enough to influence enough of the part of my creative heart to, even let it come in and write some songs that I felt like didn't need guitar solos.
Right.
Or didn't need me to say "Shubida Mamada" or "Baby Baby" and grab my crotch. So I think that what a lot of that stuff out there was doing, it was this sort of grown up version of what butt rock and Camaro rock and all that, 80s rock, Van Halen and Sammy Hagar and Fast Cars and Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Let's make sure we keep it non-disparaging though about David, okay?
The coming of age and all that, you know what I mean? Just
absolutely, yeah.
I think
there's a lot of genres in music too. I think it does make it confusing. Speaking to what you said earlier about just playing rock and roll and having a good song be a good song. I see all these, like, now it's progressive thrash, technical progressive death metal. I think those lines have gotten blurred between just guys getting up on a stage and playing rock and roll. I almost think maybe we've gotten too many genres.
Well, what that is someone with a pen trying to put it in a box for other people to understand, so they know where to look.
Yep.
And at first, that seems like it could be helpful when they're putting everything in little boxes. But after a while, when you get long in the tooth like me, you get really tired of that. And just whatever happened to just loud rock? Can't you just call it loud rock? Is it loud rock? Well,
that works for me.
Actually, no, it's this really cool, mellow, like one note for a long time. I said, now that sounds impressive to me.
Yeah.
You can play one note for if you got a song that can play one note for a really long time and move me emotionally, I'm going to buy the record.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
but what stupid, if you're a music journalist, what stupid box would you put that in? See, the one note for a long time,
you wouldn't have one. You wouldn't have one, or you'd be trying desperately to kick one around the office and make up one.
Well, and that's exactly what they did, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Now, how do you feel about? And I've watched a few of the clips on YouTube of the big, and it was postponed for a couple of years, the big stadium tour, Motley Crue and Poison and Def Leppard. Now, do you think sometimes when you see, and people are saying that Poison and Def Leppard and Joan Jett all sounding fantastic, but what's the impetus for Motley Crue staying out there if they're just going to keep getting hammered and Vince can't pull it off? Is it just a cash grab, and are us fans being ripped off, or are they really as delusional to think that they're still putting out a fantastic product? Because it's some of the shows are bordering on downright almost insultive when a guy can only get through half a song and needs the crowd carrying him and stuff. First couple of shows, he was using a teleprompter. He took a lot of flack and kind of got whipped on for that. How do you feel about that? Do some bands, or this Kiss 5-year farewell tour, do some bands just not plain know when to hang it up? And why don't they? Why do they stay around if they're going to be a constant whipping boy and a point of ridicule?
Well,
might not be money. I mean, does Vince Neil and the rest of the boys need the money?
I don't know.
On top of a little bit of,
I don't know. I don't have an answer for your question because I'm not following any of that.
But do you think there are bands who do stick around to the party too long and do end up almost tarnishing their legacy by kind of humiliating themselves?
Well, I think that when you become a brand, I obviously, by the sounds and emotional value of your question, people obviously are talking about the tour you mentioned and good, bad, and ugly. And I don't have a problem with people using a teleprompter. Yeah, my favorite singers in the world use teleprompters.
Right. Well, me as a non-musician, I didn't understand the big deal about it either.
Some of them don't.
Yeah.
Classical orchestras have music stands in front of them.
Sure. I can't remember what I had for dinner some nights.
and they rehearse every day.
Right.
But they still have their music in front of them.
Right. But he also took a big whipping too for not singing a lot of the songs and not coming to do the shows in shape. Is Vince, is there a certain obligation for an artist, to the fans when you're going to embark on something that's that big and so costly to the fans?
People want you to look and sound like you did, on your first album.
Right. Right. Or sound like the record.
And then when you don't, well, if they want it to sound like the record, they can stay home and listen to the record.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Or the band can just play the record and come out and mime.
Yeah.
And that's happening. That's happening a little bit. So
yeah.
I'll keep my mouth shut about who I think does that. But I don't really know. I don't really have an opinion about it. I gave it my opinion about the teleprompter thing.
Yeah.
But the people in the bands that you just mentioned, they're either pros or they're old and they're doing the best they can.
Yeah. And that's what I tend to attribute it to more too, because being 49 years old myself, and I'm sure you can, you can attest to this too. You're not who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I tend to get very upset when I see these artists take these kind of whippings, and I like seeing people in the comment section because I've given up on commenting. You're not going to change people's minds, but when I look in the comments and I do see people defend them and say, "Hey, what do you expect? The guy's in his 50s or the guy's in his 60s, or I mean, like I went a couple years ago with my wife to see Whitesnake at a casino nearby here." And they did about an hour and 20 minutes, and people were walking out grumbling. And I'm thinking, like, David Coverdale is in his 70s. I mean, what do you expect the guy to do? Give you 3 hours?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What are they grumbling about? What were their expectations?
A longer show. Yeah. A longer set. Too short of a set.
At a casino?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What are you doing that's not a rock concert. That's a casino. Do you see what they're talking about?
Right.
Hey, we're going to gamble. We're going to stay in the hotel upstairs above the gig. And it's a casino. That's not a rock concert. Yeah. That's a vacation. That's and some old band is going to play. I think it's Whitesnake. Oh yeah. Cool. Right. See, their expectations need to be a lot lower.
Yeah, they do. That's true. I couldn't agree with you more. So let me make sure I got this one right, though, then, since I messed up the Pantera story. So in 1999, somewhere around circa 1999, you're approached by Snake Sabo to possibly audition and or play for Skid Row?
An audition.
And what was the impetus for that? Were they transitioning, getting rid of Sebastian at that time, or was he already gone?
Baz was gone. I don't know how long he had been gone, but they were going through their initial list. And I want to say that was like, early 90s, 93 or 94, something like that. And
what was the motivation? Was there a specific reason for not wanting to explore that option? Or did you just not think it would be a good fit?
Those guys write amazing songs, right? I mean, they know what they're doing. Rachel and Scotty and Snake write kick-ass rock and roll songs.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just not the biggest. I'm not a big enough Skid Row fan to feel like that would have been my dream gig.
Yeah.
So at first, my knee-jerk reaction, I mean, there might be some regrets, but it's nice to be asked, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then what could have been some great songs that I would have liked to have written with those guys is probably the regret.
Yeah.
But trying to stand in the light of that was Sebastian's light, that's tough.
Yeah. Knowing those guys the way you do, and I know, and there has been for several years a lot of clamor to see Baz back in that band. Will we see it, or is the damage, you think, too irreparable? Those guys seem to have quite a bit of disdain for him.
Yeah, I mean, I read between the lines. And if so, here's my take on it, and I don't have an opinion about it because I don't stay awake at night wondering, because I just don't.
Right. Yeah.
But let's see, if Baz was gone in the early 90s and it's 2022, it's about to be 2023 if we like take a nap and wake up.
Close the book on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long fucking time.
Yeah, sure fucking is. Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't, you know.
It gets harder, I think, the more time elapses.
You know,
and
Gene
they seem
and
to have
Paul,
moved on.
Gene and Paul do not want Ace and Peter for whatever reason.
Right.
So, you know, Snake, Rachel, and Scotty do not want Baz.
Yeah.
For some big reason.
And they stay pretty convicted to that. They have.
Well, good for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunate for dreamers who really want that, you know, that group to get back together. It's like when Ace and Peter and Gene and Paul walk into the room, they don't even have to play music together.
Right.
But when
They're
they walk in the room, there's something there.
Yeah.
Right.
They are Kiss.
Because those guys created something.
Yep.
And I think that the magic of Skid Row, somebody else might feel the same way, that is the magic of Skid Row, that's how they were discovered. That's how they were created. It's the records they made together are bar none untouchable, kind of a thing. And you could say that about Kiss.
Sure.
I mean, I'm comparing Skid Row to Kiss.
Yeah.
Because of the situationally, if that's even a word, right? Because of the member changes and
Skid Row might not collectively have the bank account of Gene Simmons though combined.
Well, I don't know. I'm not really. I'm not looking at the numbers much.
Well, it seems like Gene has done quite the job of branding Kiss, though. I mean, they had comic books, they had action figures, I mean, you spoke earlier about branding. Like he really turned Kiss into, I mean, all we needed was Kiss cereal, and maybe somewhere along the line we had that. I don't even remember.
Well, it'll all end up in the Kiss landfill.
That's true. Yeah, it'll be quite a big landfill too.
Well, they got putt-putt. They got a Kiss putt-putt golf in Las Vegas. They got the Kiss hotel. They got Kiss everything. You know, sooner or later they'll have a Kiss landfill.
They will.
And on your right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for taking the Kiss tour today on the Kiss tour bus of sunny, butthole North Dakota. But if you look on the right, Gene Simmons has purchased all of this 20,000 acres, and if you look closely, it's the Kiss landfill, ladies and gentlemen. If
you will be billed later just for the privilege of looking at it.
Yeah. Now, I will not turn the camera to my Kiss shrine because I just don't do that. But I do have a pretty giant wall dedicated to my heroes, which are Kiss.
Listen, at the end of the day, I think we can laugh about them, but I also don't think that we can take anything away from the fact that they for what they did for rock and roll. Now, a couple years ago, they went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Way too late. I mean, is it criminal, the fact, and I don't want to get started on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by any means, but is it criminal right now that there are bands going in before bands that, and this isn't just my opinion, a lot of it seems to be public opinion, going in well before bands that just should have been in a long time ago? I mean, is it crazy that, like, Kiss went in after LL Cool J? And that's a whole other topic. Does hip hop probably deserve its own separate Hall of Fame?
No, because, NWA and bands like that broke all the fucking rules. That's what rock and roll is. Right.
So it's more of you should be in there more because of the rock and roll spirit and attitude.
Yeah. To call something heavy metal, that's an attitude. To call something punk, that's an attitude.
Right.
To call something hip hop or rap, that's an attitude.
Right.
You have to take that stuff as your mindset on what it is that you're creating when you write songs. Back to NWA, they were writing about things they knew about.
Right.
They were punks. They were living in the hood, and that's all they
street
knew.
Reporters. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
That's what Ice Cube used to refer to them as.
And it was tough. And that, in retrospect, I mean, I don't want anyone to have a tough childhood or tough upbringing, but it teaches you some responsibility, or
Yeah.
you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You die, or you use your resources to get the fuck out,
Yep.
and maybe one day you're recognized for it. And that's all that happened to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is kind of a joke,
Yeah.
because of your question. I'm
Yeah.
not making fun of you or your
Yeah.
question, but
No,
it's
I
kind of a
understand.
joke
I
because you
understand
have
exactly
to,
what you mean.
because you have to ask that kind of a question. And I
So
think
we should probably
it's an honor to be recognized anywhere,
right.
but you have to think about the attitude. You
Right.
have to think about the reason that you're being recognized, and why is one band more deserving than the other? Why do you anything with drums on it is rock and roll.
Yeah.
I've just mic drop.
Yeah.
That's all I got to
Yeah.
say.
Enough said.
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. So in 2000, I think I had the date here right. 2001, you became an ordained minister. I am too. I actually married my son a couple years ago. It's the only wedding that I've done. I would definitely be open to doing more. He didn't want anything. Him and his wife didn't want anything really big or long, or usually over the top.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Big or long or over the top. Big or long or over the top. Yeah.
So to my question, what was the motivation for doing that? What was the motivation?
That's easy. The bride and groom requested that I get ordained because they said that they wanted me to officiate.
And these were friends, family?
They friends, not family. They chose me, and I balked at it and was like, how does that work? And he said, well, you just go on this thing called the internet and we sign you up, and you get like a thing in the mail. And
pretty crazy.
That's doesn't make, and I'm like, this shit's legal. And like, apparently.
No, it is. I've signed. I've married my son and his wife, and I signed somebody else's marriage certificate who had gotten remarried but forgot to get it signed. And I put Reverend on in front of my name, because the one that I went to actually allowed you to pick a title, and some of them were awfully heavy. No, like you could pick apostle, or like some of it was crazy.
Yeah. It's the same. Yeah, it's got a Universal Life Church was the one.
Yeah, Universal Life Church. Good old Universal Life. Giving ordainment cards to guys like us. Thank God.
Well, it sounds like anyone could just start a website. I can ordain anybody. It makes me question, like, who gave them the right to be able to ordain globally?
And now, once you say a prayer over any kind of water, you've just created holy water too.
Well, I'm not a priest, so I'm not a But I do, I think that when I do a show, there's a little bit of preaching, but it's all in the name of the God rock and roll. So.
The God of rock and roll. Amen.
No, it's just rock and roll is God.
Yeah, yeah. So 2005, you do vocals for a Rush tribute show, and you get to play alongside Mike Portnoy, a highly regarded drummer in the rock circles. What's it like playing with a guy like him? Seems like a real interesting guy, and just a phenomenal, savant type muso.
He's unstoppable. He's a million miles a minute. He won't stop till it's as close as possible. He won't. He's the best. He's the best. So whatever he gets hired to do, or whatever, if it's something that he's creating, it's going to be top quality.
Right.
He's that kind of a guy.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Or
and Paul Gilbert was on guitar, and he's the same personality type. They're both multi-instrumentalists. They're both unbelievably hyper intelligent. It's like I was the dick in the room. I'm just like, fuck, man, you guys are like way over my head. But I was there. I was there. Mike called me and asked me to do it because he was a big Watchtower fan, as you alluded earlier.
Yeah.
And he knew that I could do a pretty good Geddy Lee. So
yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I imagine it probably would be. And it's always a great chance when you get to play with guys, who are pretty much at the top of their particular field. I mean, Portnoy's got to be one of, if not one of, the best drummer out there right now, especially with the passing of Neil, who probably would have taken that spot in most people's minds collectively. I mean, yeah, Portnoy's a beast.
Yeah, he is.
Now, I want to ask you about, I know a lot has been made as far as Dangerous Toys albums. Obviously, the debut, phenomenal. Hellacious Acres, phenomenal. But I was a big fan of 1994's Pissed. I love that album. I love Pissed.
That's a great record. It's still very.
There's some darker tones in it, though. Around 94 would have been, speaking about before, would have been right around when the grunge scene was really burgeoning. Did that have anything to do with the tone of that record?
Maybe a little bit. I think that, the idea of trying to write something that sounded like, I hate the term again, a little more hair metal or a little more, that, or how do we write a song that sounds like,
avoid it, Jason. I think it's just the way we got it.
Sounds like something that was on the first record, or, because, you can do that. You can spend time and try to, steal from yourself kind of a thing. But that wasn't happening. And there was enough gas in the tank. I mean, the story goes like this. I'll try to make it quick.
Yeah, no, please.
And we got home from the road in 91. Hellacious Acres was kind of run out of fuel. And we'd just come off that big tour with Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, and Motorhead and Metal Church, right? And so we start writing. 92, like 6 months, 8 months later, Danny Aaron left. But before, one of the touring guitar player we had who played on Hellacious Acres, we had written a bunch of great songs with Danny. And some of those are on Pissed. We basically put it in a nutshell. We got home off the road. We wrote and wrote and wrote, probably 75, 80 fucking songs.
Yeah. Whoa.
But we would write 3 or 4 and demo them immediately, right? And mix them and send them to management. And management would make copies and send them to the label.
Okay.
And the label said, nope, keep writing. Well, that went on for a year.
So how many songs were they expected for you to produce for them?
Well, we pulled the rug out from under them. We said, after you do that 100 fucking times, I said, no, you keep writing. Can you please drop us from your label? Can we leave? You guys are going to get mad if we leave. Can we? It's all right. It's cool. You've already taken down our Christmas photo. You've already taken down, pictures of the kids, so obviously you're cleaning house. Let me help you with that broom,
Yeah.
So they were
our way out.
We got along really great with them. We had some great years at Sony, and they were very, very cool with us even stepping in and going, opening the door and go, hey, we're not coming back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you guys are gonna have to sweep up without me.
Yeah.
And they were fine. They were cool with that. Of course they were. We did them a fucking favor.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't thinking the Pissed album. It didn't sound like you guys trying to do the sound of the day or the sound that was current at that time. It still sounded definitely Dangerous Toys. Yeah. Because I know there was one point around that time where bands were starting to think they had to go grunge. I know the Def Leppard kind of made an album that kind of seemed like, okay, this isn't the Def Leppard that I remember from.
I'm going to interrupt you there and fast forward the conversation because we made that record. Yeah. It's called The Artist Formerly Known as Dangerous Toys.
Yeah.
We made that record.
Yeah.
There was no Shubin Mama. There was no crotch grabbing. There was no baby, baby, baby. There was no, it was even darker than Pissed in some places, but it was also lighter
Yeah.
than anything we'd ever done in a
Right.
couple of places. And I really love that record. I think that it's a very strong record. I think that there's some
I
songs
do
on
too.
there that when you call it, which is the kind of like a parody title of the album cover,
Yep.
Prince
Yep.
to get
Yep.
out of his record deal, he
Yep.
changed his name, and because his name was on the contract, so he
Right.
changed his name to the artist formerly known
Yep.
as Prince, or it was a symbol, right? And
He had the symbol. Yep.
we used all that to parody on the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys. But the reason we did that is because we well knew that people wanting, Shubin and Mamina and me to grab my crotch every time I said baby, 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 were probably not going to know what they just pressed play on.
Right.
Because, well, that kind of sounds like Jason singing, but wow, this is like dirty. This is fast. Or wow, this is really like thin. Or this is emotionally, wow, this is disconnected. All of these things that have, if you want it to sound like Slaughter or something, or if you want it to sound like even Twisted Sister, it's not going to sound like. Right. You're not going to be able to put this in a box. Right. And that's what I liked about the record. But calling it like the Dangerous Toys grunge record, I'm okay with that, because you're just using a word that people know.
Right. Absolutely.
It's like calling Dangerous Toys hair metal. You're just using a moniker that people understand.
It almost seems inevitable, like there's no way around it. And is it as insulting and maybe as demeaning as it might sound, because obviously there's a lot of great players from that era that don't want to be known just because they had great hair or big hair or whatever, it's unfortunate.
Or no hair.
That term has,
there was people in hair metal bands with no hair. Let's bring that up. Yeah.
Well, so having run that spectrum from a band like Watchtower to a band like Dangerous Toys, where throughout your career did you feel like was your wheelhouse the most, though? Are you more Watchtower? Are you more Dangerous Toys? I love the experimentation and the fact that you've run the gamut of various types of metal, but where do you feel, like the most in your lane?
I don't think that there's any lane. I write Christmas songs. I write country songs.
So you're all over the road. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm in control because there is no road.
Right.
Like Back to the Future, where I'm going, we don't need any roads.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So how do you take, Elton John, Rob Halford and Bon Scott, and any song that any of those guys could have done or written, or even take their influences.
I love it.
Like it doesn't have to be a Priest song. It doesn't have to be a metal song.
Right.
I mean, Bon was like in some kind of hippie shit band before he was in AC/DC.
Right. Yeah.
You see, and I don't mean any disrespect to Bon. I have him tattooed on my body. I also have an Elton John tattoo as well. So you see what I'm trying to say is the rainbow is multicolored. It doesn't, there's no color and there's every color. So I'm not worried about what someone else thinks this sounds like, or what my wheelhouse actually is, because if I like it and I feel creative and I'm inspired by something, and I'm writing a song, whether it's a collaboration or something I'm doing myself. And most of the time it's a collaboration because I like it that way.
Right.
It's actually easier for someone to send me like parts of a song or a riff, and sometimes it fully inspires me, and when I send it back, the song is done.
Yeah.
Or sometimes if they send me something, it's not talking to me at all, and it's easy to ignore, therefore it just kind of fades away.
Right.
So that's kind of how I work. But that's not limited to, like I said, I write my own stuff too. So
do you feel like right now, and I've gotten varying opinions on this from musicians, how do you find success in today's current music industry where it's a lot of singles? I know a lot of bands are just concentrating on EPs and putting out 4 or 5 songs, but just well-crafted, tight, good songs. How do you go about it in today's landscape? Because obviously people aren't sitting down and making strong albums, like a 1 through 12 or a 1 through 14, where you just sit down and just listen and immerse yourself in an album and the whole experience of the album. What is the best, like if you were talking to a new musician right now, what direction do you point him in to say, hey, here's the path that you should probably take?
Well, I'll use the same answer I used about a half hour ago. If you sold enough records during the old days, you still have a career. And so going out and playing live, you're going to be okay.
Right.
That's how you
make why the crew money. Can go out and still take our money.
That's how you make money in today's
with
landscape.
Built-in audience.
By having a career that goes back a ways, so you can pretty much put out shit on a shingle.
Right.
And people will either buy it or they won't, or maybe they'll buy it because they are a real fan, and that's awesome.
Right.
But they still won't leave, or they'll still get mad at the band if they don't play your favorite song, whichever that is. And it's probably going to be Pour Some Sugar on Me. It's probably going to be the popular one. It depends on who you are. I mean, mine would be High and Dry. To just talk up a little bit, jump to accept your. But I'm not following that tour, but it's bringing up good examples, and it works with the question you just asked.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely. And to speak on that tour, I'm a huge Def Leppard fan, and I haven't been hearing a lot of stuff. It's mainly, most of it's just been focused on namely Vince and especially Motley Crue. But I've been hearing great things about Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Well, there's not anything bad you can say about Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
A little bit of good and bad about Poison.
Really, they're a real. Let's talk about Joan Jett. That's a real band. That's a real band.
Yeah.
That's a real consistent, in shape. Not stopping.
Yeah.
Still playing all the hits. Probably puts out a single once in a while. I don't know, but she wouldn't have to.
She's probably, in my opinion, probably the best female singer on that package outside of Bret Michaels. I'm going to say it.
I don't have any problem with that statement at all.
I didn't think you would. So talk to me about the fact that you're teaching now. Are you still teaching School of Rock?
Going on 16 years.
What brought you to that? I mean, was there ever or always a love for teaching?
No.
No,
I'd never taught before in my life before I started teaching. I didn't even know how to teach anyone to do anything. Music.
Do you find it gratifying? Do you find it gratifying, especially in as the fact that the arts have really kind of been dumped on when it comes to funding and stuff in schools? I mean, is it gratifying to be able to keep music alive? With the younger generation.
Yeah. I mean, I work for a corporate company. School of Rock is a worldwide. It's the Walmart of rock and roll schools, right?
Yeah.
And I mean that in the best way. So, and I think that it's saving people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, I mean, they have to pay a tuition to go there. So, we just don't teach people how to play an instrument.
Right.
We teach responsibility. We teach them how to load the van. We teach them how to wrap cables.
Life skills.
We teach them how to write songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, through cover songs, through popular music, we teach people how to be in a band, how to put together a show, how to communicate when you're on stage with each other, how to count measures, how to count breaks. And it starts at age 6. You know what I mean? It's just, we've had kids there at the school.
That's great.
At age 6, and they're about to graduate out. You graduate out when you turn 19 or something.
Yeah. Well, as somebody with kids and now grandkids, I love that because I can definitely see that artistic spark in a few of my grandkids. And obviously I hate the fact, like I said earlier, that sometimes the arts just seem to not get the recognition and the level of importance put on them as other parts of a curriculum. Or other parts of school curriculum.
Yeah, I understand. I think that, public schools and even private schools that have art and music programs are fantastic. But for a kid who might be shy, or well, a lot of kids are shy. They're kids. They're
right.
trying to figure it out, and with some help they do. And some people are introverted and some people are extroverted, and that's great. But even the introverts as well as the extroverts, sometimes it's the dark side of music that they want. It's not necessarily playing the trombone at the school,
right?
For the marching band. Some marching band, what's
being
that?
Forced into it by your parents.
I like Motorhead. What do you mean marching band? I want to play. I want to learn how to play Ace of fucking Spades.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Those underdogs, that might be a good fit at the School of Rock. Do you see what I'm saying? It's still a private school. Right. People do donate to the school, but we are not a nonprofit. You know what I mean? It's like you have to pay to go there.
Right. Deservedly so. Yeah. I mean, you guys are providing. You guys are providing structure, but you're also there to earn a living.
Yeah. And it's a safe place. If you're a weirdo, we love that. We take pink and purple people. We take rainbow people. We take upside down people. We take right side up people. We don't care. The weirder you are, the more safe you're going to be at the School of Rock. And that's, I love that.
Sounds like a great place.
Yeah, I love that.
That sounds like a great experience.
Yeah, and the kids, if you're an asshole, you don't last one day.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's not a place that fosters that kind of because there's a lot of bullying going on in schools, and it seems like being a kid today would be a lot tougher than being a kid when I was growing up. I mean, it's a much scarier world for sure.
Right. Well, that kind of thing is not tolerated at all, and it seems to be tolerated more. Not in my school. Yeah, it seems to be tolerated more elsewhere, but not at School of Rock.
Yeah. So I read online that you had, and of course, you always believe everything you read online. So this has to be true. You, with the large amount of rock memoirs that's out there, are we going to see a book from Jason McMaster? I know you've thought about the Stories of a Texas Metalhead. I love it.
Yeah,
I say run with it.
Yeah, I like that title a lot, and I sort of lost my itch to do it. And I lost any momentum I had once I started doing more of this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Right. I have my own podcast now.
Okay.
I have done, hundreds of interviews on podcasts since the lockdown. Yeah. And so my life is out there. They just have to like podcasts. Yeah. I don't listen to podcasts.
You know that people out there, you can find out everything you need to know right here.
But I have a podcast, even though I don't listen to podcasts or necessarily. I mean, if it's one of my heroes, I'm probably going to press play on it.
Right.
But
do you have a desire to write a book, though? I mean, do you have a deep desire?
I do. I think that just being able to go a little bit stream of consciousness and have somebody else kind of edit and put it together and make it cohesive enough for people to understand my ramblings and just the emotions that I had when I, as a young person, discovering rock and roll music and what it did for me. Yep. And what it can do for you, if you are anywhere, if how I can explain what happens when my heart and my brain talk to each other. What was missed, the fuel is rock music. Right. That's how I became. I mean, it's my identity. Right.
Yeah, it's who you are.
And it wouldn't matter if I had long hair or no tattoos, or if I was an amputee or whatever. That's the language that I speak.
It's in the soul.
And like I said earlier, if there's a song or a piece of music that's not talking to me, it should be easy to ignore. That's why I don't complain about, other people's music and talk shit about other styles of music or anything like that. It should just be easy for people to ignore if it's not speaking their language.
Amen. And there's so much of that on there. I think social media has now made everybody comfortable on the other side of their keyboard, to become like armchair critics and start to say, oh, this band's gone soft, or this isn't strong, or oh, they sound terrible live. Like we said earlier, people are getting flack, just for going out there and trying to earn a living. But you work in a field where you don't have the traditional, I hang it up at the end of the day, put the lunchbox away and go collect a pension. I also see the side of where these guys, do it well into their older years, maybe because they want to keep some of that identity, but maybe it is still to earn a living though. And how do you deprive somebody from doing that if they feel like they still have something to give?
Well, you don't. And I think that you're kind of giving the fans something to bitch about or something to glorify.
You are. Yeah. And it's a shame that they take that opportunity because, and like I said earlier, I like those people in the comment section who say, well, what do you expect? He's in his 60s, or, let me see you go out and sell 5 million albums like he did in the past.
Well, and even if the singer, whoever he or she might be, is struggling for whatever reason, you don't have the right to get mad at that person because you don't know them. You're not friends with them. You don't know what medications they take. You don't know how much therapy they've
taken or what they haven't taken
or need or whatever their concoction is. You have no fucking idea. So part of me wants to go, how dare you? But the other side of me just wants to say that if that person is struggling and it's not really getting any better, it would probably be really cool for that person to come out and really have an honest moment with their audience somehow at the concert, like come out and sing a song or two and then say, hey guys, I want to get serious for a second. I can't do what I used to do, and I'm here to have a good time with y'all. So let's celebrate our songs, and I might hold the mic out for you guys to sing the songs that I can't physically do anymore, and let's just have a good fucking time. And I think that would go a long way. But you know what? They ain't doing that.
No,
they're not. It's like they don't care. It's like, fuck you, I don't do what I want. Fuck, like they're offended by it. They're letting it.
I like what you're saying there too, because if you let the fans participate enough and don't lean on them too heavily, you make them feel part of the experience. And you kind of are able to kind of hide your defects right in plain sight just by adding it to the show.
Well, you need to smile and take the paycheck, but you're smiling for your audience. You're happy for them. You're blessed. You're lucky that they're there.
Yeah.
You're lucky that they love you. You're blessed. All you did was write a couple of rock and roll songs, and some guy with a big cigar and a lot of money threw a bunch of money at it and invested in you. And like, like the Pied Piper, just like, obviously what you were saying and doing through your music on a record, when someone heard it and they fell in love with it, that's a drug.
Right.
So, 40 years later, if it doesn't sound the same live, that's not necessarily your fault. So you have no right to come out and be a judge.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. You were once quoted as saying, and I hope I got the quote right here, that in regards to Texas, your music life didn't start until, what was it? You moved to Texas?
I was born and raised in Texas.
Okay, so what's the quote that I'm thinking of? Your musical life didn't start until
I got to Austin.
Austin. Okay. And what do you mean? What do you mean when you say that? Was it just discovering new things?
Well, I was, I was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, down in the Gulf of Mexico. And I got to Austin when I was 16 or something like that. So that's still young. I didn't know shit, but But I had started playing bass guitar when I was about 12 or something like that. So I'd only been playing for a few years, handful of years, and I'd never sang before. Charlie Brown songs in the 5th grade choir, Christmas play in 6th grade, but it was basically I played the tennis racket with ketchup in my mouth, with Gene Simmons makeup on in the mirror, wearing my mom's go-go boots. But there was not really much more to that other than this. I spent summers, probably 3 or 4 summers in a row, where I would, listen to records. I hope people still know what those are. And
a few out there.
And then I'd learned how to play all the songs in my whole record collection, and I had a fucking pretty big record collection at age 13 and 14 and 15, because I've been into vinyl since I was and my collection has come and gone. Roommates, I went broke and I had to eat and whatever, but since I was probably 5 years old, 6 years old, young,
bit by the bug young.
Yeah, because I had older brothers, right? And they were all into cool rock and roll. So, Beatles and Stones, Pistols, Ramones.
Yeah. Start with the basic 4 food groups.
So good. Yeah, that's all you need, really. When you think about it, that's really all you ever needed anyway. And so, me saying that, the quote that you dug is, yes, I was in my very first band in Corpus Christi when I was, 14 or something like that. And it was all covers, and I could barely play. I could barely tune the thing. It was like having a tuner, like a clip-on or a stage tuner. Those just didn't exist. What existed was an oscillating stage tuner, a strobe tuner. A strobe tuner. And you just tune to whatever. Yeah, your guitar player sounds in tune, I'll just tune to you.
Close enough.
That was how it was done. And so I'm self-taught and everything. So
it's amazing.
That's what I'm trying to say, is like those 3 or 4 summers alone in my room, just, side A, side B, next record, side A, side B. And I'm just fumbling through, finding the riff. And, sometimes I'm taking the needle and putting it back. Oh, I finally got that, And I would go to the ones that I felt like I was drawn to the most. I would play those again the next fucking day.
Yeah.
So,
repetition. Muscle memory.
In one summer, I think I spent most of my time learning every song on Black Sabbath's Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll. That's a double album.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest hits album.
Yeah.
And, and then I remember in Moving Pictures came out. I was already trying to play along with All the World's a Stage, the Rush live album.
Yeah.
And I loved the first like 5 Rush albums are the sickest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I agree.
Still to this day. And I mean, it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I know it's rock and roll, but
right.
Wow, these guys are pumped up, And then when Moving Pictures came out, they had finally straddled the line between like progressive and radio rock. They really, really kind of put it together and were able to straddle the line on that record. You think Tom Sawyer, that's on like a million radio stations right now.
Movie soundtracks.
Oh, there it goes again. It's the holy grail, when you think about like records that sort of are apex for bands, and Metallica did it with, everybody probably knows I'm a gigantic Metallica fan, but
it's my favorite band.
It sort of comes and goes in it's spotty, like my Kiss love for Kiss. It's kind of spotty after a while, but like Tom Sawyer is to Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
They finally found the apex, the way to be Metallica, which is this metal band, and then cross over to something that would be, they destroyed radio with Enter Sandman.
Yeah,
they
really
did.
Yeah, that riff was just everywhere when it came out.
They owned the radio station with that whole record. Really, nothing else matters.
That's commendable, though, that you were just crunching away in your room, just learning how to play. See, I mean, the only muscle memory I was building in my teen years was a little bit of this, probably too much of that, and and too much of this.
That's part of that. Well, those kind of go together. You're not really getting anything done by doing either of those. So,
but speaking to your point, how you said about being a huge Metallica fan, me too. Band I've seen the most live is Metallica. Love Metallica. Love what I heard Lars say not that long ago on well, maybe it is a little bit long ago. I watched a lot of the archive episodes of Howard Stern on YouTube. He had them on there a few years back in studio, interviewed them. They did some songs, and Howard asked kind of the same question that I had said earlier about catching flack for the fans. Catching flack from the fans, I should say, about changing their sound too much. And Lars said something very poignant. He said, I think it's good once in a while to challenge the fans. You agree with that statement? Because a lot of fans just want Master of Puppets over and over and over again and don't want to hear like a Load or a Reload or them doing stuff with Lou Reed or them doing stuff with a symphony orchestra. But then Lars spoke to the point of we were catching that kind of flack, getting shit for Ride the Lightning when they came out with what's the ballad on there about
Fade to Black? Fade to Black.
Yeah. But do you agree with that sentiment though? That changing your sound, it's a tough thing. People expect you to be in a lane.
I don't think that they did anything wrong with Fade to Black because there's enough balls in that song it
kicks into gear
to garner any just hold on a second. It's going to kick you in the face.
Hold on.
Just hold on a second.
We're about to drop the hammer.
That's called dynamic.
Yeah.
And when it's just like on the ceiling the whole time, every song is on the ceiling and there's no, if it's all peak and no valley, it's not really that musical. And I really think Metallica, because they had to grow up too fast. They lost their bass player. They didn't know how to deal with each other. From the very beginning, it was obvious the way that, Dave Mustaine's story and the recollections of how he was booted from the band. I don't want to open a can of worms here, but when you're 17, 18 years old, you don't know how to treat people yet.
Right.
So hey, here's your Greyhound ticket and the walk away snickering. Is probably, I mean, that's just a cartoon in my brain. It's probably not how it went at all, but I'm just saying it's a blanket statement. When you're that young, you're not prepared to kick someone out of your young band.
Right.
So when it happens, can you imagine how Dave Mustaine felt?
Right.
So maybe he had a drug problem, drinking problem. The guy needed some help, but the other guys in Metallica are not here to recognize that. They're looking at that as a handicap, and they're reaching for the stars.
They can't recognize it even in themselves at that point either.
And I understand all sides of that now as I'm an older gent, and so do they. And they've probably had the therapy that they probably need because of the guilt that they realize later on. Or maybe they didn't. I don't know. I'm not trying to read the minds of Metallica.
Advocate. Sure.
It's not my life. It's their life, and however they seem to be very well acclimated. I know James is probably doing the best that he can, and I love James Hetfield so much.
Me too.
Oh my God, what a
now,
guy.
Do you know him on a personal level?
We used to write to each other. I saw them on the Kill 'Em All for One tour when they were opening for Raven here in Austin. Wednesday, August 24th, 1983. And I saw them a couple nights later in San Antonio, and me and my friends hung out with James Hetfield for 5 hours or some shit.
Man,
and he gave us all his home address, and we all were fanboy pen pal, and he gave me his phone number. We would talk on the phone, and
that's awesome.
I went on for a few years, and then they just got fucking giant, and they can't, you can't be friends with everyone you met on the road when you're 18.
They are the epitome of giant too. Like they become gigantic. I mean, anywhere they go, like there's going to be
just
50 to
because
100,000 people there.
just because Robert Plant was your best friend in high school doesn't mean that after Led Zeppelin you're going to be able to go, dude, what's up? You know?
Right. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not reality. Because his family and his close friends are his family and his close friends.
Right. And you have
But
to
you know
respect
what? It was cool. It's cool when someone you meet who's on the way up and you know it because you're a fan and you see it and it's plain as day.
Oh,
and they're just working so hard to try to stay busy in order to eat and write the best song that they can do. That's kind of what I'm doing now in 2022.
Now, when you see them when you see them go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and deservedly so, and I asked somebody else their opinion on this before, did Dave Mustaine belong up there with them on that night, or did he not do enough? Because I had heard people say that there was stuff even 2 or 3 albums in that was still could have been written by Dave. Does Dave have a place in the Hall of Fame with Metallica?
I think it would have been cool to have all of the guys up there, and it's still a small club. How come they all couldn't have gone up there and just said a little speech? And unless that they were still the water wasn't under the bridge yet, right? But I think that would have been really sweet.
I think he'd be satisfied to get in on his own merits, though, and there probably is somewhere down the line that Megadeth get in.
Megadeth is a Grammy-winning artist and well-deserving of fucking anything. So let me go back to the poignant Lars on Stern.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You said that he said they were challenging the fans.
It's always good to challenge the fans once in a
while as challenging themselves. Now maybe he didn't say that, but the fact that Metallica probably wanted to write any kind of song they could as long as it felt good, that's just a sign of maturity. And sometimes Metallica fans and Slayer fans and heavy metal fans, just to generalize, are maybe mouth breather, knuckle dragger, to play up to
Cretins.
To play up to the bad name that we all get because we're a little bit different than Beaver Cleaver. It's kind of like I have an opinion about that. So he's saying, I'll say it again, he's like, he was challenging the fans. It must be nice to be able to go off road and not lose any money. Because like the Beatles, after a while you can do whatever the hell you want. If you're Metallica, you can do whatever you want. You can start an ABBA tribute band.
They've earned that right.
And people would still buy it. So back to another answer for your question or for your commentary that works is, here it is again, third time in this interview. If you sell enough records, you can play the same songs over and over. And if you sell enough records, you can do whatever shit on a shingle, and you'll still have a career.
Can't argue with that. Now, okay, so putting Metallica and James Hetfield aside, who's an artist right now? Either a voice or a player, a guitarist, whatever. Who's somebody that when you hear them instantly gets your attention? Who's somebody that just time after time after time you just never get sick of?
Well, I like that. I like the time after time after time after time, and that could be Elton. It could be anything by Queen. It could be David Bowie, Alice Cooper, anything Rob Halford sings on. Just gets me. I love Steven Tyler. It gets spotty. Even some of the artists I mentioned, probably it gets a little spotty sometimes, but just even hearing them perform, they could sing the alphabet. I don't care. Just hearing their voice and their tone, and whether it's good or bad, or if they're just like warming up, I could probably listen to any of those guys. Any AC/DC, even I love Brian Johnson almost as much as I love Bon Scott. Because he's just a bloke. He just came in and said, I'll fucking do it. I'll give it a go. And he was already this badass singer too. So, I think that I want to give an honorable mention, of course, who doesn't really need an honorable mention. He should be mentioned is Axl Rose.
Okay.
I don't I don't think that I have been trying to clone Axl. I've always sang the way that I sing, and
But the comparisons are there. The
my
comparisons
influences are the same as his. He loves Elton, he loves Queen, he loves AC/DC, he loves, he likes all of the same shit. So I've been singing that way the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just didn't have a big hit.
Right. Right.
So I came out later, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they found me later.
The tail end of the 80s.
So Axl paved the way for all of the red-haired guys, skinny with tattoos, who sing high, who came after him.
Yeah, he sure did.
So for all of the people that are saying,
thanks, Axl,
clone, they should just know that, oh, well, you heard about him because you only listen to the radio.
Right.
You don't listen to any underground rock music, so you don't know what this guy or this girl or him or her have been doing for 10 years prior to Appetite for Destruction.
Not a bad guy to be compared to.
No, not at all.
I pray.
So I was just mentioning AC/DC. When he sort of like started driving the bus for AC/DC on that Rocker Bus tour, he killed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He took charge.
Yeah.
He fucking killed it.
Big shoes to step into.
It was scary fucking good. Well, he has that gnarly. He can do that. He can do the Bond. He can do the Brian.
Yeah.
He's got that nasty gnarly, man. And he's, Dan McCafferty from Nazareth, that guy. And he was on the short list after Bond died. Yeah. Dan McCafferty from Nazareth. And Axl's all about some Dan McCafferty.
Yeah. Really? He's a big fan, huh?
Yeah. And that guy has all the gnarly. He's got all the groovy and all the grit and all the crooning and all of the, the bluesy and the jazzy voice. He's got all that shit. And Axl does too.
Yeah. I often think back about, the kind of lightning bolt of a career that Guns N' Roses kind of had, the early incarnation of Guns N' Roses, the original lineup. And it's kind of sad to think how they kind of imploded and where they would be had they just kept on with those original guys, because I mean, there just seemed to be no ceiling with those guys. I mean, you were around in that time when Guns N' Roses hit. It kind of changed the landscape of things, did it not?
Yeah,
almost the way the grunge did.
And if it would have come out 5 years later, who knows?
Right. Yeah. Now, do you think Guns N' Roses currently now, no Izzy, no Steven, but 3/5 of the original lineup there, should they be recording new music, or should they just be going out and just playing all those old hits? I think they've done a single or two, but would you like to see Guns N' Roses back again doing albums, full-length albums?
They're like Metallica. They can do whatever they want.
They don't need to.
They could stop music. They could change careers and come back in 5 years and play the same set they're playing right now, and no one would even notice or care. It would just create hunger for the band to tour,
For it to be a true reunion, though, did it need Steven and Izzy? Are they a necessity to really make it feel like, the full-on Guns N' Roses experience, or do they got enough guys, old cast members to make it work?
Well, it's not like wearing the Space Ace and the Catman costume. Axl couldn't just get a guy with a curly hair and put a top hat on him, and he couldn't get like a super tall, skinny, good-looking David Bowie haircut bass player playing a white jazz bass either. It's Guns N' Roses is not a costume.
Right.
He can't. That's so he's probably taken who he can afford to take.
Right.
Because Axl kept the name and kept going, and obviously, for whatever reason, I mean, they all have clout in my eyes, but Axl kept the clout somehow and was, owned the name, bought the name, got the name, and went out as Guns N' Roses. He didn't call it Axl Rose. He could have.
Right. No, he called it Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
What do you think when you see these?
Even when it wasn't really Guns N' Roses, he was just out playing Guns N' Roses songs. So I'm going to call it Guns N' Roses. Well, he owned the name. See what I mean? I mentioned it earlier. That's a brand.
Yeah.
It's branding. It's branding. So it's all branding now. It's not a guy in a top hat. It's the real guy.
Right. It's the real. Yeah. It's the real guy.
Yeah. I mean, they got the real guy. Yeah.
What do you think about these bands who sometimes split, and then there's like two different versions of them? You know, like there's two Great Whites, there's two LA Guns, there's
that's what happens when you go into, you know, hey man, let's spend the money and buy the name and we'll be partners and we'll both own the name, and then you get in a big fist fight, and so, well, fuck you, I own half the name, so I'm, you know, that's what's happening when that happens. So otherwise the lawyers get involved, and you know, that's why Jeff Tate doesn't call it Queensryche. He doesn't own the name.
Right.
So, as far as I know, but just to be clear, I don't know. Let me call Jeff real quick and make sure for my fact checker. Let me call Jeff and make sure, you know, no, I don't know. But you know, Jeff is in his own right as a star. He can do whatever he wants.
That's one of the ones that bummed me out the most, the Queensryche split. Loved Queensryche.
Well, I have recently befriended Todd Latore from Queensryche, the singer, and he's strong.
Does a good job. Yeah, does a great job.
He's fucking strong. He's a super talent. He's a super talent. He's super intelligent, and I have a lot of respect for the guy. And those are some big motherfucking shoes.
Huge.
And he knows his place. And you know what? When the guy, and I said this the other day to someone, it was probably on my podcast because I just go, you know, crazy on there sometimes. I said it the other day. It's like, you know, when the guys in Queensryche ask him a question, he's got an answer.
Yeah.
And he's got a suggestion.
Yeah.
And you know what? When those guys don't know what to do, he does.
Yeah.
What replacement singer can tell the original guys how it's going to go?
Right.
Not many. Not many.
Yeah.
Todd can do that.
And not a lot of guys who want to step up and even be willing to attempt to do that either. You know?
Respectfully, Todd can do that.
Now
they have given him a lot of reins, and it's badass, man.
Yeah,
it's badass.
I've got a soft spot for Queensryche. They were the first band. Jeff Tate, namely, was the first guy I ever saw take a stage because you know Queensryche opened for Metallica and Justice for All tour. That was the first show that I ever saw. They were out in support of Operation Mindcrime, and just I mean, blown away. I mean,
87.
87, yep, somewhere around 87. Now, when you look back at that 80s, and I hate again to call it the 80s scene, but obviously a lot of it, and especially in a lot of the rock memoirs, a lot has been built up and made up about, you know, the girls, the cars, you know, the booze, the partying, the lifestyle. Was a lot of it. Now, I know a lot of it, you know, did go on, you know, the Sunset Strip, a lot of, you know, the wild stories of debauchery, all that kind of stuff. What was your experience like, though? Did you partake in a lot of the over-the-top wildness, or were you a pretty tame guy?
I was never
not incriminating yourself too much.
No, it's okay. I was never first off, I was never any good at drinking.
Yeah,
same here. No drinking games. No, like, you know, I've never ever gone to the store and bought a 6-pack for myself.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never done that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Right on.
So that gives you that sort of like opens the book for you right there. I was never really any good at it. I don't have that addictive of a personality enough to where something that is highly addictive other than rock music.
Right.
I didn't, that was my thing. And for years and years and years, I was straight edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where there was nothing at all. And I guess now that I'm an older gent, as I like to call myself, I just don't have time to think about a party or, you know, it being inebriated. Like tonight I'm going to get fucked up. Hey, let's celebrate. You know what I mean? And then there's drinking. It's like, I'm not a good celebrator. You know, I'm no fun. Right. Jason, don't party. Don't call me because I'm not going to go. You know,
the guy's a pastor, for God's sake. Leave him alone.
Don't be offended. Don't be offended if I don't show up to your drinking party, because it's not my
That's
style.
all right. I won't be there either, Jason. I won't be there either. I'm a lightweight. I always have been a lightweight. I can't hold it. Yeah.
Me too. I'm no fun.
No, I'm no fun either. So let me ask you, future plans. Is there any particular project or band that you're particularly focused in on, or that we'll see music from under the banner of Dangerous Toys, or anything you're working on particularly that we'll see in the near future here?
Well, right now, I've been pushing the new Dirty Looks album that I'm on. Yep. It's called Cool from the Speedway. It's a live record recorded September last year, and it just came out in May, and it's available now. And I'm really proud of it. And we're doing some shows in Pennsylvania next week. We are also on the Monsters of Rock cruise next year.
Nice.
And we're hoping that we get asked to do some bigger events that that we can celebrate the life of Henrik Ostergaard, who was the main guy in Dirty Looks, who sadly passed away about 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I'm really pushing that. So I really want people to check that out and give it a chance. I'm not the original guy, but I've been friends with the guys in Dirty Looks and a fan of the band as long as I can remember. Yeah. And Paul Idell has been in from Dirty Looks, has been in Dangerous Toys since 1994. He's on the Pissed album, and the artist formerly known as has been. But Dirty Looks is, we've written a couple of songs, and we're hoping to write more, and we don't really know how we feel about it yet, because, are we trying to write songs that sound like Dirty Looks? Are we trying to write, am I trying to sing like Henrik Ostergaard? Is it right? But it has to be a certain feel, or I'm not going to call it Dirty Looks, right? Right. It's not I don't have that right. Right. So I want it to have enough. I want it to have enough hair on it that makes me think, oh, well, we can call that Dirty Looks, because it's got the right attitude. Yeah, I like that. You're always looking to serve the project and serve the music and pay the utmost, homage and respect to it. Yeah, and the toys, we have material. There's almost a record's worth of material and I love the songs. We're playing a couple of the songs live. A song that is actually quite popular now hadn't been released. It's not available, but people know it because they, the people who go see us play it on the cruise or at the festivals and shit like that. It's called Hold Your Horses. It's like part of the set now. It's been part of the set for like 2 years now. So the idea of releasing that as a single has been talked about. The idea of getting enough songs to just make a record. We don't know what we're doing. The good thing is we're a free agent. There's no deadline. Right. Right. That's nice. It's not working against the clock. Yeah. And at this stage, it goes back to that whole thing. Are you sure you want to pull us off the road while we're making you money? Right. You want us to not make you money while, so anyway, that's not a question. So we're just taking our time, and we're slow, But we will see more Dangerous Toy stuff, though. You're pretty confident of that? Well, I mean, the songs are recorded, and there's enough tracks now. We could, if we felt strong enough about the material to not just, I mean, obviously we love the songs because we're playing them live. Right. But if we felt strong about the recordings that we have, maybe they're just not quite cooked yet, you know? Right. So for whatever reason, need to keep them in the oven a little longer. Whatever reason it is, So now, we'd spoken earlier about the music industry, what you would say to a young artist. Are there any bands out there right now? Because I know myself, I'm kind of stuck in a time warp. I lean heavily on my old staples. Are there any new bands out there that you would pump right now? Anybody that's really getting you excited that has kind of just popped on your radar? I'm like you. I live under a rock. I'm comfortable. Yeah. I'm comfortable. I think us old guys do. Yeah. Yeah, I can't help it.
I
I'm
just
not.
can't find bands to blow my doors off anymore.
Yeah,
It's hard.
I'm not looking for that anymore. But I've been a fan of Danko Jones for about 20 years now.
Okay.
And he actually sang on one of my records. He sang on a record that came out quite a while ago now called I have a band called Broken Teeth. And the last thing Broken Teeth put out was during the pandemic. It's a live album. It's a live CD and DVD piggyback. By the way, the Dirty Looks thing is as well. It's a live CD, but it's got a DVD inside of it as well.
Okay.
So, but Broken Teeth did that same idea, a couple years prior, and that's called Broken Teeth: Evil in the Queue. And but Danko Jones sang on a record called "Viva la Rock Fantastico." And
with a little flair there, Jason. I like that.
Sang two songs on. Well, he's on the title track, and we made a video for it. He came down to Austin. We played a gig together, and we shot a video together for "Viva la Rock Fantastico." And so
voila.
When Danko Jones came on my radar, I was completely blown away.
Yeah.
A friend of mine sent me a Danko CD and a CD by this band, The Darkness. And The Darkness I threw out the window of my van.
That bad, huh?
And the Danko, well, The Darkness I took personally because the way that the guy's singing sounds like a cartoon. Not like the way King Diamond sounds like a cartoon.
Right.
I love King Diamond.
Yeah.
I worship King Diamond.
Yeah.
I'm a Merciful Fate fan from high school.
Yeah.
I had Kill 'Em All and Nuns Have No Fun. Those were on rotation. The first EP by Merciful Fate and Kill 'Em All and Raven All for One and Wiped Out and blah blah.
Yeah.
That was I listened to those.
Yeah.
I still listen to those. So that'll tell you where I am. But Danko Jones blew my mind. And The Darkness did not. I felt like that guy was making fun of, a lot of different things. Even though I feel like the band and actually that guy Justin, I think, he writes great songs. They write pretty good songs. I just can't stand what he chooses to be his singing voice. I know he doesn't have to do that when he sings.
Right. Yeah.
He's
almost becoming a caricature of himself. Yeah.
Well, and that's the shtick. And I understand I get that too, but it's a little.
I understand shtick a little.
Well,
just a little.
whatever pays the bills.
So Broken Teeth is a name you share with also a UK punk band. Who the hell are these guys that thinking they can just come over here and take Broken Teeth, Jason? We got to go pay them a visit across the pond or what?
Well, there's a band in Australia called Watchtower. I don't know. I mean, these guys can't do a Google search when they would name their band. So Broken Teeth has been producing and selling music since 1999, and these guys in like 2004 just decide it's okay to use the same exact name.
Yeah.
So, I think that I learned a lesson from Mr. Danko Jones, actually, on the exact topic. And he's aware, and he's like, you guys can coexist. You guys should even do some gigs together. He just totally reverse psychology, the whole thing. And you know what? He's fucking right. Yeah. And you know what? They're pretty good. I like hardcore. I like fast and evil. I love it.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody about that the other day, how like when I was young, it was always just, you discover, again, the dreaded hair metal bands, but then we always kept looking for the next fastest and heaviest thing, to the point where you get so deep down this rabbit hole of death metal that you're not even really sure if it's even music anymore. It's just so goddamn scary. Now I've peeled back a little bit in my old age, but I do still love my old school thrash, though. I love thrash music.
Oh, 80s thrash is its own sort of like flavor.
Yeah.
Especially Bay Area. And then when
Love
you go
the Bay Area.
When you go to the East Coast, I could talk about Overkill for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's important. That Jersey metal scene is fucking important.
Yeah.
It's like the Bay Area. There's a lot going on right there. It's just a lot of those bands didn't really like it's just overclouded by the Bay Area
Yeah.
phenomenon, right? I
Yeah, the Bay
understand
Area
that.
has always been its own phenomenon. I had Perry, the drummer, on from Violence the other day, a
Oh,
thrash band who I
badass.
love, who I
Yeah.
absolutely love. And they have recently kind of gotten the whole machine started back up again. Like they were
Yeah.
really pretty much out of the picture for a while.
Yeah.
Sean, their lead singer, had some very serious liver and health problems.
Yes,
but
he
they
did.
are back, just released an EP, and they are back just full on. I mean,
Yeah.
touring and
Yeah.
kicking ass. And it's really a miracle to see. I mean, it's a testament to that band's
I
strength.
think that the popularity of you know, the Bay Area Strikes Back, you know, the Bay Strikes Back tour
Yeah.
with Testament, Death Angel, and Exodus.
What a bill.
The over and over and over, there just seems to be this like constant surgence, not resurgence, of the movie and the book Murder in the Front Row.
Great documentary.
It's unbelievable what was happening. It's emotional.
Yeah.
Grown men are crying, you know, because it was so life-changing. And, you know, people who aren't even from the Bay Area, I'm talking about myself. I mean, I come to tears because I just love that, what they had.
I'm in upstate New York. I mean, it's thousands of miles away from me, and I mean, it made an indelible mark on me too.
Yes.
I mean, that whole music scene out there, it's a lot more than just Metallica, unfortunately.
Yes.
And where do you stand on the whole Big Four thing? Are they being pretentious? I mean, are they just going by album sales and saying we're the biggest four thrash bands? Because there are some thrash bands that were left out of that fold that really, really, really have carried that scene.
No, I just think that
some of those bands went a little soft. I mean, there was always no let up from Overkill, from Testament, from Death Angel, from a lot of those bands.
No, I think that was, you know, I see Lars and, you know, I see Lars and whoever else, right? But definitely Lars in an idea room with management and people with other people with money, and they're trying to come up with a cool name for a gig, and then a possible tour. We'll see how this gig goes. And they didn't even do it in America; they did it overseas, and
I think we might have got one at Yankee Stadium, but that might have been it, though.
Right. But you know what? That's fine. One or two, I'll take it. The idea for that is a great idea, but it could have gotten ridiculous, and otherwise it just turns into a Bay Area thing. Yeah, you got LA. I mean, Metallica doesn't even claim Los Angeles.
Oh, they got out of there like somebody lit their ass on fire. They were out of there, running out of there.
They're from Los Angeles, and they, you know, that seems to be overlooked because of the Bay Area thrash scene. Yeah. And I think that people forget that Slayer is from Los Angeles too, and they just start to think, they just lump them all in with Exodus and everybody, their friends up north, you know. Yeah. But I just feel like there's so much out there to talk about when you think about that 80s thrash, and it's a movement. It is. But I do think that Anthrax and Overkill and Testament and Exodus, as well as, you know, Megadeth and Slayer, and of course mighty Metallica, it's a movement. You can't put all, you know, the big eight. Someone's got to go on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. And they shouldn't have to. Right. They kind of all deserve their. It's almost disrespectful, you know.
But as much as I love that thrash stuff, though, I can just kind of flip right over back to the sleaze and the good old Sunset Strip music. I still love that as much. But I don't know if you remember this, but certainly this was prevalent growing up for me. But you know, you couldn't be almost a fan of both. If you like the heavy extreme stuff, you were almost considered the dreaded poser if you liked the other stuff. And that was like a label that was almost worse than being like a leper back in those days. You know, I mean, it was just, you better not claim to like Slayer and be caught listening to Trickster. You know what I mean?
That's like telling someone you're afraid to tell people that you're a grown up and pay bills. Yeah. There was just a lot of dividing lines back then, and a lot of like quote unquote, you know, metal snobs were like, "You're not metal enough," or you know, I remember there was a time, I'm speaking for myself, probably around the age of between 17 and 19, where, yeah, I was that guy.
Yeah. A metal snob or worried about your image?
No, metal snob.
Metal snob.
Like if
yeah.
it wasn't, if
Guilty.
it wasn't Venom or Slayer or Merciful Fate or Metallica,
you were a wuss if you were listening to it. Yeah.
Well, it's
Anything
like
else?
I had friends who were into like early death metal, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'd get in their car and they'd have a Rush tape playing, and they turn it they turn it down real quick, and they would say, "Don't tell my friends I was listening to Rush."
Yeah.
And I think about that.
Yeah.
And it's fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean don't tell your friends you were listening to Rush?
Yeah.
Because you know, that's like it's what?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and say it. What are you trying
to
These guys, you know, those you're talking about the guys who created extreme.
Yeah. 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 Unfortunately, sometimes I think that that when the more heavier extreme stuff comes along, that I think the bands like Metallica and Motorhead that paved the way, I think sometimes their legacy gets not tarnished, but almost kind of overlooked and forgotten. You know, I mean, as bands keep pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that all of a sudden a band that starts a genre all of a sudden becomes like, you know, not accepted by its own. You know,
well, let's take it one further. I'm not trying to one up you. It's still your show, but here's the deal.
Oh, please.
When James Hetfield decided to take voice lessons,
right,
there's something pivotal about to happen.
Yeah.
And he sings his ass off now.
Yeah.
He's a great singer.
Yeah.
He's turned into a great guitar player, a great singer, a great songwriter.
Yeah.
And why would any music fan not want him to write a song he wants to write and feels completely comfortable writing?
Right.
Why would they say, fuck you? Why are you writing that, whatever that is? And
that's the epitome of getting the best of James Hetfield, I think. You know, I mean,
James needs to do what James needs to do. He needs to be comfortable. He needs to feel love, and he needs everyone's support. He's not even asking you for your support until he is.
Right.
Because of his addictions and stuff. But I'm not a therapist, and I'm not James, and I'm not his friend, you know. But I love him.
But the encouraging thing is that he seems to be acutely aware that he has these demons and is fully willing to face them head on and deal with them. So that's always a positive note, that whenever James feels like he's backsliding or needs the help, he goes and gets it.
That's right. I want to say it again. He wanted to learn how to sing.
Yeah.
He wanted to not lose his voice on the road anymore.
Yeah.
He wanted to learn how to write better melodies.
Yeah.
i.e. better songs.
Yeah.
And him learning how to use his voice proper, you don't have to like it, but he's a singer now.
Yeah.
So when he sings all the thrash shit, he's singing it. He's not barking it, because he knows that he can't do that live every night anymore.
Right.
When you're 19, you're bulletproof, you know, and you're a kid and you don't know anything else.
You scream and then you deal with the repercussions later.
You've learned all that you do in the garage, you know, and that's it. And next thing you know, you're on tour for years, and you like, what? I'm just making it up as I go along. And that's amazing right there. That's the beauty of the whole thing.
So impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And well, that's how everyone starts.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's like, you
crawl
don't
before you walk.
I feel like in the garage, 5 guys in the garage is going to put out the best shit, other than someone who's, you know, stage mom or stage dad or famous parents who are already rock stars, or who are pushing them into voice lessons, pushing them into guitar lessons, making them do you know, whether they want to or not, because their dad or their mom is their idol. And that's beautiful too.
Yeah, that is.
But there's something different about what's going on right there than when there's just these pimply face, ugly ass kids in the garage sweating their asses off, and they don't give a fuck about anything. They're pissed off because they don't have any money. Right. But that's when the songs are good.
The angst fuels the songs. So Rex Ruger The moniker that I've chosen. Do I have enough X's in my name to be considered glam enough? Or do I need more?
I don't know.
Rex Ruger, though, a good front man name.
I don't like the Ruger part.
No?
No.
Ditch Ruger, then.
Billy Booger.
Billy Booger.
Yeah. Rex Ruger and Billy Booger.
There you go. That's well, how about this? How about then how about you front the band and I'll just be your hype guy? How about that?
I got too many bands already, bro. Thank you.
You do have too many bands.
Thank you for the love,
but yeah, I could literally sit here and talk to you for hours. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to have the king himself in front of me, Dangerous Toys, if I didn't give you a little sample of what I worked on today. Do you mind?
No, what do you got?
All right. Now, I just wanted you to keep an open mind here and think about the next Dangerous Toys album, okay? The lights on, her dress off. I'm rock hard. She's sweet and soft. Red lips, looking for some action. You want to come? You better come packing. All right, now here's the chorus. First, a little bridge here. Begging for my wet and sticky. She can't wait to licky licky. Now, here's the best part. Get down on your knees and get ready to please. I'm all revved up, ready to go. So pull my zipper down, grab my hose, and blow.
All right.
Sleazy enough?
Yeah, that's dirty.
That's dirty, right?
That's dirty. Yeah.
What do you think? Can we make this happen on the next Dangerous Toys album? I don't want anything but just the glory of being on a Dangerous Toys album.
Well, I think
we'll work on it.
I think that it's actually pretty good, but it's a certain year that's
Are you saying I dated myself with those lyrics, Jason?
Yeah. There's a couple of rhyme schemes, maybe, if I had to be picky. Maybe I'm mad that I didn't write it. Maybe a little bit of everything.
Maybe a little bit of everything.
There's a new Dangerous Toys song that who knows if it's already been recorded, but it's new. It's called Pretend It's Candy.
Oh, see, I don't have a clever enough title. I only have Wet and Sticky here. So I mean and I feel like that's probably something that you would expect to see on an 80s album. So
yeah, I mean I can't I can't say that I haven't written something almost mirroring what you've got there, buddy.
I mean, I can't compete with Sporting a Woody and Teasing and Pleasing, Jason. I mean,
Well, Sporting a Woody is about par with what you have, so it's almost that good, if I may say.
Well, I was inspired that you were coming on, so I was writing in that vein today, and
that's well, thank you, I guess.
Here's my one and only shot to bowl over Jason McMaster. And
right.
I think I left you a little underwhelmed, Jason. I'm sorry for that, but
no, that's okay. I
was going to sing it into this and be a little more 80s. I was going to use this as my microphone, Jason. Does this bring back good memories of the 80s?
Oh, I thought that was a marital aid.
Aquanet?
Well, the shape, it's
long and strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Aquanet pretty much did the whole ozone, the ozone. So, I mean, all that teased up hair is getting a lot of the blame for the current problems that we have. So, I mean.
Well.
But you didn't look like a guy to tease the hair up a lot, though. So.
Well, actually, when I first joined the Toys, I was a replacement singer. They had I've actually replaced 2 female singers in my life. One of them is Dangerous Toys. They were called Onyx before Dangerous Toys, and they were pretty much doing the poison hair and the poison clothes and that kind of thing. So coming from Watchtower, which was not much better. God, I wore some stupid shit on stage in Watchtower too, but yeah, it was, we teased our hair, but I would wear combat boots and bullet belts.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I need. I need the bullet belt. I do. Do they still make those?
It was kind of a crossover. Oh yeah, I have a bunch.
You got to be able to find a bullet belt somewhere, right?
Oh yeah. Just
I'm
online.
on the hunt.
There's this thing called the internet.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I've also I just want to before I let you go, I want to know about the Texas Musicians Museum has a pair of your leather pants.
Well, they did. They sent them back. I guess
so they don't stay there. They don't stay there on display forever, huh?
No, they closed that down. Now it's the something else musicians museum. So I don't know if still the Texas Musicians Museum, and they have a recurring, same theme, but it's just they run out of room. For the next 6 weeks we're doing Roy Orbison's grandmother's piano, we're doing but I got those back. I think they stunk up the place. So
it's still nice though for somebody to want in Jason McMaster's pants though, right?
It was very cool that they wanted to talk about Watchtower, my tenure. It was very, very nice of them, and I owe it all to my buddy Bruce Corbett, who's no longer with us. He was the singer for Rigor Mortis.
Oh, bringing back good memories.
He was in War Beast. War Beast was the band he was doing through his cancer treatments and stuff until he just couldn't do it anymore.
Fantastic band name choices too. That's not an easy thing to do. I told Perry from Violence the other day, I'm like, you stepped into probably one of the greatest names for a thrash band. I mean, what epitomizes it more than Violence? You know what you're getting when you put on Violence.
Yeah.
Some of those names are just overkill. You just think of those names and it's just
perfect.
Perfect. The shoe fits. But you know what? I love Dangerous Toys, Jason, and I always will. And I appreciate the time you gave me tonight. This has been a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate, goddamn, we've gone for over 2 hours, man. It's been a real pleasure. I could converse with you for another 2 hours, man. You're a fountain of useless information.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Kidding. No.
Hey, that's exactly what I would have said.
No. Listen, it's been great taking the ride down memory lane with you and talking about everything that you've done and everything that you're up to. People can find your stuff out on all music platforms. If they don't know the Dangerous Toy stuff and the Watchtower stuff, they should be punched in the face and thrown off of a cliff.
Cassius King, look up Cassius King. I've got a new Cassius King record coming out.
Broken Teeth. I think you front more bands than I do, man. And I'm the hardest working guy in show business, but I think you got me beat.
Igniter, Evil United, Howling Sycamore. That's plenty. There you go.
Of course, the Dirty Looks project.
Dirty Looks. The new live record is super fun. So
if
you were ever a fan at any moment of Dirty Looks, you got to check it out.
Well, listen, sir. I salute you, sir. I appreciate you coming on and spending all this time with me. It has really been a pleasure and an honor to talk to you, man. And I know the Pod Scum audience out there is going to love this. I got a lot of scumbags following me, so.
All right, good.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jason. Good luck with your own podcast.
Thank you.
I encourage people to tune in. I'll be tuning in. I always love listening to your stories and your insights on music, man. Can't get enough of it, man. You're the man.
Awesome. Thank you for
Master McMaster.
From the Church of Disaster.
From the Church of Disaster. You heard it right here from him. Jason, thanks so much, man. Keep rocking. I love you to death, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Have a good night, man. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There he goes, folks. Jason McMaster. From Dangerous Toys, from Broken Teeth, from Watchtower. Legend status right there. Legend status. Don't think he really liked my song that much. Told me it sounded a little dated, but with all due respect, Jason, I'm flying way too high. That's right. Well, gonna get off this soapbox here. We've been cackling here for hours. So till next time, everybody, I'll see you again on Pod Scum here real soon. Can't wait. Got more good guests coming up on the horizon, man. And bid you guys all a good night. Love my audience out there. Thanks for joining us on Pod Scum. This is Rex Ruger with the triple X saying, see ya!